Hi, I'm Claire and this is Speculative World, the series in which I review international works of science fiction and fantasy in English translation. Today I'm going to be talking about The Rabbitback Literature Society by Pasi Ilmari Jääskeläinen. This is a Finnish novel and it was first published in 2006. This English translation is by Lola M. Rogers and it was published in 2013 by Pushkin Press. So first, let me tell you a little bit about the story. The story takes place in Rabbitback, which is a small Finnish town that is best known for being the home of Laura White, who is an internationally famous and beloved children's author who has written a series of books for kids called the Creatureville books. And Laura White also has created this Rabbitback Literature Society where she picked 9 promising children and trained them to be writers. Now it's 20 or 30 years later and Laura White is still just as famous, and the 9 members of the Rabbitback Literature Society are all very accomplished, famous authors and screenwriters. This is where we meet our main character, Ella Milane, who is a Finnish language and literature teacher, and she comes back to her hometown of Rabbitback to help her mother at home because her father is suffering with dementia and he is just not the same person that he was. When we first meet Ella, she's just found a copy of Crime and Punishment that has some really weird stuff going on with it. Basically, the book is wrong. Some of the stuff that happens in this copy that she has is not what happens in the Dostoevsky classic. And as Ella investigates this, we have a few more things happening in her life. Ella's very first published story appears in a local magazine. Laura White likes it and decides to make Ella the 10th member of the Rabbitback Literary Society. This is an enormous deal because there hasn't been a new member for about 20 or 30 years. There is a lot of excitement about town and a grand party is thrown to induct Ella Milane into the Literature Society. And at this party, Laura White disappears in a whirlwind of snow. Now, if you thought, I have seen this book described as a mystery in some of the reviews that I've read online, and no, it is not a mystery at all. It does have some unexplained things and some investigation going on, but it doesn't follow the traditional narrative and structure of a mystery. It's not a whodunit. It is a magical realism novel, so you will have things that are left unexplained. You will have many more questions than you will have answers. And I think if anyone goes into this book thinking they're reading a mystery, they would be kind of disappointed. Nevertheless, it was a very interesting read. It was quite eerie and quite unsettling at times. It's definitely not a book that can just be rushed through. I very much felt like I wanted to read a little bit of it and then kind of pause and think about it and then go back, read some more. This book focuses much more on exploring the characters and the character dynamics than it does on any specific plot. The focus of the story really seems to be shifting around. The plot opens with this problem with the books not having the right story in them, and then we've got Ella's family issues, and finally we have Laura White's disappearance and everybody looking for her. But after Laura disappears, that's when the real focus of the book appears. We start to explore the different members of the Rabbitback Literature Society and their relationships to one another. It's not surprising that that should be the main focus because that's the title of the book. We look, of course, at how Ella is going to integrate in the Rabbitback Literature Society despite Laura White not being there to properly train her, and then we look at other characters that are in the society, like Ingrid Katz, who is the town librarian, but also tries very hard to contain what she calls the book plague, which is the issue with the books having the wrong contents. We also look at Marty Winter, who is the most talented of the writers in the society. He's a best-selling author, but at the moment he is a recluse. He does not leave his house, and that is partly because there's a giant pack of stray dogs that has decided that they wanted to kind of camp in his front garden, and he's really afraid of dogs. And we also get a lot of character development for the absent Laura White. She is always talked about, and you can see her character changing from the beginning to the end of the novel and shifting from this kind of benign, gentle, grandmotherly children's author figure, and then you kind of get another side to her, a more scheming and calculating side to her, almost manipulative, just this really complex and layered character. It reminded me a lot of how in the first few Harry Potter books, Dumbledore is just this funny guy who says funny words, and then later on you realize he's been manipulating everyone around him to get to the end of the war. One thing I really enjoyed about this book was the writing. The writing was really beautiful, and it encompassed a really wide array of kind of styles and atmospheres. You have very frank conversations that feel very modern, but then at the same time you have kind of meditations on life and death and a lot more kind of abstract passages. The members of the Rabbitback Literature Society also regularly challenge each other to something that is called the game, and you slowly discover what the game is. It is very mysterious and very weird, but it does mean that we end up with both very confrontational situations and also with really cool kind of stream of consciousness pieces of narrative, which is really interesting. This book also has one of those endings when you are given one piece of information that means you have to reconsider the entire story because it changes everything. And I liked it, although I thought it was done maybe a little bit abruptly. I don't really know how it could have been done differently, but I did feel like it came very quickly, and then after that it was just curtains down and the book was finished. For me as a reader, when I get to the end of a book, I like to be able to understand what's been going on throughout the book, and so I really like having pretty much everything tied up with a bow at the end. And I know it's not at all what the author wanted to do and what the genre of magical realism mostly does. I have to say I'm not normally a big fan of magical realism, so I thought within that genre that book worked really well for me and I quite liked it. I rated it 3.5 stars. It was not my favorite because I'm not a big fan of the genre, but I can see how it's got plenty of things for other people to enjoy. If magical realism is your thing, then I think you would really enjoy this book. So this was my review of the Rabbitback Literature Society by Pasi Ilmari Jääskeläinen, as translated by Lola M. Rogers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're interested in the book, I will leave a link in the description box below to where you can buy it. Let me know if you've read this book or if you would like to read it. And if you have any other book that you'd like me to review in this series on world science fiction and fantasy in translation, please let me know in a comment below. I've already got a list, but I'm always looking to add to it. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check the sidebar right here for my intro video to this series, as well as my playlist of other reviews. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more videos from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.